You are standing in a Swedish hotel with your boots packed and your tournament shirt folded on the bed. The European Championship begins in 10 days. Your team has qualified. Then someone tells you to go home. This is Yugoslavia in May 1992. A football team removed from a tournament before it could play a single minute. Denmark takes your place, survives the group, beats the Netherlands, defeats Germany, and becomes champion. The official story belongs to Denmark. But the unanswered question belongs to Yugoslavia. What kind of team never reached the pitch? To understand that question, you have to forget the idea that Yugoslavia lost only one tournament. The deeper loss was a footballing generation that had been forming for years, across clubs, cities, languages, and republics. It was not a fantasy assembled later from famous names. The evidence was already visible. You could see it in Chile in 1987. Yugoslavia arrived at the FIFA World Youth Championship with a group of players who were barely known outside their own country. Robert Prosinečki controlled the rhythm. Zvonimir Boban attacked space from midfield. Davor Šuker found goals. Predrag Mijatović offered movement and imagination. Robert Jarni brought speed from the left. They did not simply look promising. They became world champions. FIFA's archive records Yugoslavia beating West Germany on penalties in the final after a 1-1 draw. Boban scored late in normal time. Prosinečki won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. Years later, Prosinečki described that victory as the wind in their sails, the moment that pushed an entire group toward major careers. But what happens when a youth team grows up together? Usually, not enough. Teenage champions disappear all the time. Some stop developing. Some are trapped behind older players. Some become stars but never fit into the same senior side. Yugoslavia was different because the generation above them was already strong. Dragan Stojković could receive the ball under pressure and make the next defender move before the pass had even left his foot. Savićević could open a defense with one touch. Dejan Savićević played with the kind of balance that made a crowded penalty area look strangely empty. Darko Pančev lived near the goal and finished attacks before defenders understood the danger. And behind them stood Ivica Osim. Osim was not interested in collecting the most famous 11 names. He wanted relationships. He wanted players who understood where the next pass would go and who would cover the space left behind. In plain language, he wanted a team rather than a parade of artists. Could that many creative players actually cooperate? The 1990 World Cup gave you the first serious answer. Yugoslavia began badly, losing 4-1 to West Germany. The result made the team look fragile and confirmed every old suspicion about brilliant footballers without enough structure. But Osim adjusted. Yugoslavia beat Colombia, defeated the United Arab Emirates, and reached the knockout stage. Then came Spain. You are watching Dragan Stojković receive the ball inside the penalty area. He shapes to shoot. The defender commits. Stojković pauses, moves the ball onto his other foot, and finishes with calm precision. Later, in extra time, he scores again from a free kick. Yugoslavia wins 2-1. That match matters because it shows the difference between talent and control. Stojković does not play quickly because the moment is important. He slows the moment down. He makes Spain move at his speed. Could that control survive against the world champions? Argentina waits in the quarter-final. After roughly half an hour, Rafik Šabanović is sent off. Yugoslavia must play most of the match with 10 men against Diego, Maradona's defending champions. The easy response would be panic. The expected response would be collapse. Neither happens. Yugoslavia stays organized for 120 minutes. The match ends 0-0. Goalkeeper Tomislav Iviković even saves Maradona's penalty in the shootout, but Sergio Goycochea answers for Argentina, and Yugoslavia loses 3-2 on penalties. Jonathan Wilson later returned to this team when writing about Osim and the Yugoslav generation. The central idea was painful because it was plausible. The wars that followed may have denied football one of its greatest national sides. Italia 1990 was not the final form of the team. It was only the first draft. Look at the ages. Prosinečki was 21. Boban was 21 but had not been selected for the World Cup squad. Šuker was 22 and did not play at the tournament. Mijatović was 21 and also absent from the Senior World Cup squad. Savićević was 23. Pančev was 24. The team that reached the quarterfinal had not yet added the full force of the world champions from 1987. So when would the real peak have arrived? Probably between 1992 and 1998. That is where the counterfactual becomes almost ridiculous. A possible Yugoslav attack could have included Šuker, Pančev, Mijatović, Bakšić, and Savićević. The midfield could have drawn from Boban, Prosinečki, Stojković, Vladimir Jugović, and Srećko Katanić. Robert Jarni and Siniša Mihajlović could stretch the pitch or strike from distance. Those are not names made impressive by nostalgia. They proved themselves separately. Šuker scored 6 goals at the 1998 World Cup, won the Golden Boot, and helped Croatia finish third. Mijatović scored the only goal of the 1998 Champions League final, ending Real Madrid's long wait for another European crown. Savićević produced one of the defining performances of the 1994 Champions League final, including the famous lob as Milan destroyed Barcelona 4-0. Then consider the club evidence from inside Yugoslavia. Red Star Belgrade won the European Cup in 1991. Prosinečki, Savićević, Pančev, Jugović, and Mihajlović were central figures in that generation. They defeated Marseille on penalties in the final, but the road to Bari mattered just as much as the trophy. A club drawing heavily from the Yugoslav football system had conquered Europe before the region's best national team generation had reached its prime. What happens when a European champion becomes only one supply line for a national side? You get depth. You get tactical options. You get competition for every creative role. And you also get a problem. The popular version of this story imagines every famous player walking onto the pitch at once. That team would look magnificent on paper. It might also become completely unbalanced. Someone still has to defend. Someone still has to run without the ball. Someone has to accept fewer touches. Someone has to sit on the bench while a player from another club, city, or republic starts instead. In Yugoslav football, every selection could be interpreted through politics, identity, and regional suspicion. Osim understood that danger. His achievement was not discovering talent. Everyone could see the talent. His achievement was building enough trust and structure around it to survive difficult matches, including 120 minutes with 10 men against Argentina. That is the counterintuitive twist. Yugoslavia's greatest strength was not that it could produce an impossible collection of number 10s, the creative players who operate behind the striker. Its greatest strength was that it had finally found a manager capable of refusing some of them. Osim could choose balance over reputation. But by 1992, football had become smaller than the forces surrounding it. The country was breaking apart. War had begun. Sarajevo, Osim's hometown, was under bombardment, and his family was there. In May, he resigned as national coach in a deeply emotional act of protest and solidarity with his city. 1 week later, United Nations Security Council Resolution 757 called for Yugoslav representatives to be prevented from taking part in international sporting events. UEFA suspended the team. Yugoslavia, which had finished above Denmark in its qualifying group, was removed from the European Championship. The players were sent home. Denmark was invited in, and Denmark won the tournament. Does that mean Yugoslavia would have won Euro 1992? No. Football does not work like a mathematics problem. Denmark's victory depended on discipline, goalkeeping, timing, and the strange emotional freedom of a team that had almost nothing to lose. Yugoslavia might have been brilliant. It might also have argued, tightened under pressure, or lost to the Netherlands in the group. The honest claim is not that Yugoslavia was guaranteed a trophy. The honest claim is that the team deserved the chance to reveal its ceiling. That chance never came. By the time the players returned to major international tournaments, they wore different shirts. Boban, Šuker, Prosinečki, Jarni, and Bakšić helped build Croatia. Mijatović, Savićević, Mihajlović, Jugović, and Stojković represented the later Yugoslav team formed around Serbia and Montenegro. Others belonged to Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, or North Macedonia. The old combinations disappeared. The football did not. You can still see its fragments. Croatia's 1998 team carried the confidence of the Chile generation. Red Star's European champions carried their technique into the biggest clubs in Italy and Spain. Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and North Macedonia continued producing players far beyond what their populations seemed to promise. Imagine those streams still flowing into one squad. A goalkeeper behind Mihajlović and a disciplined defensive line. Jarni attacking from the left. Jugović balancing midfield. Boban connecting phases. Prosinečki turning away from pressure. Stojković or Savićević creating behind Šuker and Mijatović. Would it have been the greatest national team ever? Probably not by achievement, because achievement requires matches, trophies, and proof. Brazil in 1970, the Netherlands in 1974, France around 1998 and 2000, and Spain from 2008 to 2012 built their reputations on what they actually did together. Yugoslavia remains different. It is greatness in the conditional tense. It is a team measured by the careers that separated, the trophies won elsewhere, and the combinations that history never allowed you to watch. That makes the story tempting, but it also makes it dangerous. A lost team can never disappoint you. It never has to survive bad form, injuries, egos, or a penalty shootout. So the real lesson is not that Yugoslavia would certainly have ruled football. The lesson is that a national team is more fragile than it appears. You can spend decades building academies, clubs, coaching traditions, and shared instincts. You can produce youth world champions and European Cup winners. You can place enough talent inside one generation to frighten every opponent on earth. And then history can remove the shirt before the team reaches the pitch. You are standing in a Swedish hotel with your boots packed and your tournament shirt folded on the bed. Only now, you understand what was really sent home.